The approval of minutes for the legislative session that occurred on September 27th, 2022. For reports of committees tonight, I will share a report on behalf of the Administration Committee on the work session of October 4th, 2022. Next, a report from Chair Madsen on the work session of October 4th, 2022. And finally, a report from Chair Rodriguez on the work session of October 4th, 2022. We have one ordinance for first reading tonight. That is Bill 10 of 2022, which will move to the Budget and Finance Committee. We do not have any ordinances for amendment or ordinances for final passage. We will conclude with resolutions. The first is Resolution 54 of 2022. We did not receive the corrected version of the resolution. If you remember, Stephen Williams's name is really iterated differently a few times throughout the resolution. So I will move to make the correction throughout, and then we will vote on Resolution 54. Resolution 55 of 2022, we will vote upon. Resolution 56 of 2022, we will vote upon. Resolution 57 of 2022, this one it was the request of council members to invite Ms. Nelva Wright, who is the health officer for the city of Harrisburg. So we will suspend the rules for discussion on Resolution 57 and then vote. Resolution 58 of 2022, we will vote upon. Resolution 59 of 2022 will move to the Administration Committee. Resolution 60 of 2022 will move to the Administration Committee. Resolution 61 of 2022 will move to the Administration Committee. Resolution 62 of 2022 will move to the Budget and Finance Committee. And the final resolution tonight is Resolution 63 of 2022, which will move to the Administration Committee. Is there any old business for discussion tonight, council members? Okay, any new business? No. Okay, I have a few things for new business. Councilman Rodriguez, did you want to share about the 5 firefighters that were sworn in today? Okay. Yes, we can. Would you like to announce it tonight or during our next legislative session? That would be only the day before. Okay. You're welcome. And then we will adjourn. So we will call our meeting to order. We have about 6 minutes at 6 p.m. Thank you.
I'm not sure, I don't know whether the template went over that. We either have them or we don't, right? The minutes we have, but they're only legislative sessions, so the committee meetings, it used to not be a work session. Would have, there'd be a lot of replicant hearings on those committee meetings back then. So whether it was the Public Works Committee or whatever it was. But I don't know if it's just a file folder on the thing. I don't know. Mhm. Right, but that doesn't go back very far from what they're talking about, right? So. And then, right. We've been writing those in the past for people like years at a time. Minutes. Right. So, yeah, so.
Thanks for your patience, everyone. We're waiting for a camera for our sign language interpreter, so that's why we're a few minutes delayed in starting. So as soon as the camera arrives and is set up, we will begin our meeting. Thank you. Thank you. Good evening, everyone. The time is 6:08 p.m. I would like to call our legislative session to order. Mr. Truesdale, could you please call the roll?
Ms. Daniels,
Here.
Ms. Green,
Present.
Mr. Mattson,
Here.
Mr. Majors,
Here.
Ms. Rawls,
Present.
Mr. Rodriguez,
Present.
and Ms. Bowers.
Present. Thank you. The invocation this evening will be led by Councilman Mattson. Councilman Mattson?
Thank you, President Bowers. If we could do a moment of silence for those who passed in our community, and also lift up thoughts and prayers for the people of Ukraine who have gone through another horrific set of bombings, especially that have targeted innocent civilians. And then still thoughts and prayers for Florida, Puerto Ricos, and others that were impacted by Hurricane Ida as they rebuild their communities. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman Mattson. The Pledge of Allegiance will be led by Councilman Rodriguez.
Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance.
United States. Which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Councilman Rodriguez. We will deviate from our agenda this evening. If you're following along, listed under communications, we had Ms. Charlotte Katzenmoyer, who serves as the CEO of Capital Region Water. We invited Ms. Katzenmoyer to discuss some unfinished business that we had over the summer. There is a population of residents on 2nd Street that are very much impacted every time it rains by stormwater runoff pretty heavily. So we invited Ms. Katzenmoyer to share on behalf of Capital Region Water. Unfortunately, she let us know this morning things happen and she's no longer able to participate in tonight's meeting, but we look forward to rescheduling for a later date. We will now open the floor for courtesy of the floor. Just a few housekeeping reminders. You'll have 2 minutes to share your comments. Mr. Truesdale will serve as our timer. If you could please state your name and address for the meeting record. If you don't feel comfortable sharing your address, please share the vicinity in which you live within the city, and we will go from there. So I will begin to my far right. Is there anyone who would like to offer public comment? Seeing and hearing. Oh, I'm sorry. I couldn't see you. You were in the corner. You were in a different seat tonight.
Good evening. My name is Bear, Southside Harrisburg. I just wanted to come to you tonight. I was coming to you tonight originally just to promote our event, CBTU Halloween Game Night. You can go to the event right under CBTU Halloween Game Night. We're only charging $10 for new members. We'll have all kinds of stuff going on. But real quick, on my way here, coming off the highway 22, onto Second, coming off the highway onto 2nd Street, big pile of dump trash. That out there real quick. That flyer over there. My number's on the bottom.
Well, do you want to share the date and time at least?
October 29th, 2022, 7 p.m. till midnight. It'll be a DJ there. It'll be a karaoke, costume contest, games, of course, and I think 2 drink tickets or tickets come with.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else to my far right? Seeing and hearing no one? Anyone to my right that would like to offer public comment? Okay, seeing and hearing no one. Anyone in the middle section? Seeing and hearing no one. Anyone to my left? Seeing and hearing no one, we will move to the approval of minutes. Council members, if you haven't done so already, please take a moment to review the meeting minutes for the legislative session of September 27th, 2022. Are there any revisions to be noted? Okay, seeing and hearing none, the minutes stand approved. We will now move to reports of committees. The first report you will hear this evening, I will share on behalf of the Administration Committee on the work session of October 4th, 2022. On Tuesday, October 4th, 2022, the Administration Committee met to discuss Resolution 54 of 2022. Resolution 54 of 2022 is a resolution appointing Marita J. Kelly, Gregory S. Daler, and Stephen Williams to serve on the LRTA, which stands for Local Economic Revitalization Tax Assistance Appeals Board. As a reminder, the Local Economic Revitalization Tax Assistance, or LRTA program, is a tax abatement program for 10 years for completion of construction for new residential construction, residential improvements, new commercial, industrial, or business construction, and commercial, industrial, or business improvements. The three appointees were present to answer questions posed by council members. Mr. Jason Graves, who serves as the Director of Business Development and LRTA Administrator for the City of Harrisburg, was present as well. Mr. Graves provided an overview of the LRTA Appeals Board. The LRTA Appeals Board is a three-member board comprised of an appointee from the City of Harrisburg, Dauphin County, and the Harrisburg School District. The purpose of the LRTA Appeals Board is to assemble in the event that an application for abatement under the LRTA wishes to appeal an administrative denial of all or part of an application. Ms. Marita J. Kelly will serve as the City of Harrisburg appointee. Ms. Kelly currently serves as the Finance Director. Mr. Gregory S. Daler will serve as the Dauphin County appointee. Mr. Daler serves as the Director of Tax Assessment and Tax Claim for Dauphin County. And Mr. Stephen Williams will serve as the Harrisburg School District appointee. Mr. Williams currently serves as the Harrisburg School Board Vice President. Mr. Daler clarified the county's role in the LRTA program. Documentation is received from the city designating if a property should be included in the LRTA program. Council members asked the following questions: publicizing the LRTA program, the number of qualified applications received, LRTA requirements of prevailing wage and minority participation, specifically monitoring of compliance, board complement, appeals on behalf of the city and county, conflicts of interest, and term of service. Mr. Graves provided clarity on the process to apply for the LRTA program. He also shared that the monitoring of compliance is still in progress between the city and the county. Mr. Neil Grover, city solicitor, shared that historically there have been no appeals to the board. Mr. Daler shared that Dauphin County has not received any appeals to date. Mr. Grover shared that appointees would serve until replaced, and each entity has the right to name their appointee. It should be noted for the record that a corrected version needed to be shared with council. Mr. Stephen Williams's name in the resolution as it is written currently is designated a few different ways. So we just want to maintain consistency and make sure that his name is correct. Once the corrected version of the resolution has been received, I would encourage my colleagues to support the appointment of Marita J. Kelly, Gregory S. Daler, and Stephen G. Williams to serve as members of the LRTA Appeals Board for the benefit of the residents and business owners within the city of Harrisburg. I would also like to note, council members, that Mr. Graves followed up with an email this afternoon sharing some of the 2022 abatement data. There are 22 projects valued over $50,000. The total building permit applications for 2022 taken out by 9 owners. The gross construction estimate is $26,008,535. 8 projects are for new construction, 10 are for repair or replacement of existing structures, and 4 are for alterations to an existing structure. Of the 22 projects, 10 appear to be by tax exempt entities, and that was shared by Jason Graves. This concludes the work of the Administration Committee. The next report you will hear is the report from Chair Mattson on behalf of the Public Works Committee on the work session of October 4th, 2022. Chair Mattson.
Thank you, President Bowers. On Tuesday, October the 4th, the Public Works Committee discussed Resolution 55. Resolution 55 of 2022 was a resolution appointing Mr. Percy Bullock to serve on the Coordinating Committee of the Harrisburg Area Transportation Study. Mr. Bullock gave an overview, who is our project manager for the city of Harrisburg, gave an overview of the committee. The committee is an organization of federal, state, and local agencies that are tasked with developing a regional transportation plan, which documents the current status of transportation projects to meet those needs. The committee creates a framework and prioritizes for the expenditures of federal transportation funds over 25 years. After the overview, council members then asked questions and got clarification on the status of current board vacancies and who was currently occupying them. Overall, the resolution was pretty straightforward, and I would recommend that my colleagues vote in affirmation of the appointment. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair Mattson. The final report you will hear this evening will come from Chair Rodriguez on behalf of the Public Safety Committee on the work session of October 4th, 2022. Chair Rodriguez.
Thank you, Madam President. On October 4th of 2022, the Public Safety Committee met to discuss a series of resolutions for the city of Harrisburg. Representing the administration was Rebecca Balmer, Commissioner Carter, and Deputy Chief Swanson. On the agenda first was Resolution 56. Resolution 56 of 2022 is a resolution to apply for a grant up to $5 million to the Pennsylvania Commission on Crime and Delinquency for efforts to reduce violent crime throughout the city. Deputy Chief spoke on the October 13th deadline and the importance of making the deadline. He believes we must enhance the technology to be more efficient in the department. The grant is for the 2023 and 2024 and body cams and license plate readers are just a few of the upgrades the department is looking forward to upgrading with the grant funding. Ms. Balmer feels she can submit in time and has a phenomenal chance of being awarded. Accountability and measures after the submission were discussed as well to ensure we are executing with fidelity. Next on the agenda was Resolution 58. Resolution 58 of 2022 is a resolution addressing gun violence investigation and prosecution grant program for up to $5 million to improve the department's ability to investigate gun violence. The need for a forensic investigator is prevalent and would elevate how the department looks into gun crimes. We address gunshot detection as a way to utilize the grant, as well as purchasing the newest software to expedite forensic processes. There was also a conversation about a department-owned Ring doorbell for civilian homes, but my colleagues on council had many questions as to how that would look logistically. The last resolution on the agenda was Resolution 57 of 2022. Resolution 57 is a resolution approving Anthony Russo, Food Safety LLC, to conduct health inspections within the city of Harrisburg. Mr. Russo spoke of his highly qualified and decorated experience with food safety, his knowledge of airborne pathogens and cross-contamination can be an asset in the city of Harrisburg. Some of his certifications include registered sanitarium, environmental health specialist, certified PA Department of Agriculture, and also a certified health officer. Mr. Russo currently serves other cities and towns, but has the capacity to serve the city of Harrisburg. A contracted fee of $50 per inspection and $20 for the follow-up is what's currently drafted. And we all look forward to Ms. Wright receiving the assistance she needs in our current Department of Health for the city of Harrisburg. I highly encourage these resolutions and the support of my current council for the resolutions. And that would conclude the report for the public safety work sessions for October 4th of 2022. Back to you, Madam President.
Thank you, Chair Rodriguez. We will now move to the single ordinance we have for first reading this evening, Bill 10 of 2022. Mr. Truesdale, could you please read it into the record?
Bill 10, 2022, an ordinance for giving and discharging city real estate taxes, including interest, penalties, and costs, and striking off tax liens for the properties 1510 and 1513 Market Street.
Thank you. Bill 10 of 2022 will move to the Budget and Finance Committee. We do not have any ordinances for amendment or ordinances for final passage this evening. We will now move to resolutions. The first resolution for consideration is Resolution 54 of 2022. Mr. Truesdale, could you please read it into the record?
Resolution 54, 2022, a resolution appointing Marita J. Kelly, Gregory S. Daler, Stephen Grier Williams to serve on the LERTA Appeals Board.
Thank you. As I noted in our caucus, council members, I will make a motion at this time. I move to correct Stephen Williams's name throughout Resolution 54 of 2022. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you. Mr. Truesdale, could you please call that vote for the corrected version of the resolution?
Ms. Daniels,
Yes.
Ms. Green,
Yes.
Mr. Mattson,
Yes.
Mr. Majors,
Yes.
Ms. Rawls,
Yes.
Mr. Rodriguez,
Yes.
Ms. Bowers.
Yes,
Passes unanimously.
thank you. So we now have before us the corrected or amended version of Resolution 54 of 2022. Are there any questions, comments, or concerns before we take our final vote? Okay. Seeing and hearing none, Mr. Truesdale, could you read it into the record one more time and then call our vote?
Resolution 54, 2022, a resolution appointing Marita J. Kelly, Gregory S. Daler, Stephen Grier Williams to serve on the LERTA Appeals Board.
Thank you. Can you please call the vote?
Ms. Daniels, Ms. Green,
Yes.
Mr. Mattson,
Yes.
Mr. Majors,
Yes.
Ms. Rawls,
Yes.
Mr. Rod-
Sorry.
Mr. Rodriguez,
Yes.
and Ms. Bowers.
Yes. Thank you. We will now move to Resolution 55 of 2022. Mr. Truesdale, could you please read it into the record?
Resolution 55, 2022, a resolution appointing Mr. Perry Bullock to serve on the Coordinating Committee of the Harrisburg Area Transportation Study.
Thank you. That's Mr. Percy Bullock. Council members, are there any questions, comments, or concerns related to Resolution 55 of 2022? Seeing and hearing none, Mr. Truesdale, could you please call the vote?
Ms. Daniels,
Yes.
Ms. Green,
Yes.
Mr. Mattson,
Yes.
Mr. Majors,
Yes.
Ms. Rawls,
Yes.
Mr. Rodriguez.
Yes.
And Ms. Bowers.
Yes.
Passes unanimously.
Thank you. Next, we have Resolution 56 of 2022. Mr. Truesdale, could you please read it into the record?
Resolution 56, 2022, a resolution authorizing the city of Harrisburg to submit a grant application to the Pennsylvania Commission on Crime and Delinquency for a grant under the Local Law Enforcement Support Grant Program of up to $5 million to support the Police Bureau's efforts to reduce violent crimes throughout the city.
Thank you. Council members, are there any questions, comments, or concerns related to Resolution 56 of 2022? Seeing and hearing none, Mr. Truesdale, could you please call the vote?
1 second.
Okay.
Ms. Daniels? Ms. Green?
Yes.
Mr. Mattson?
Yes.
Mr. Majors?
Yes.
Ms. Rolls?
Yes.
Mr. Rodriguez?
Yes.
Ms. Bowers?
Yes,
Passes unanimously.
thank you. Next, we have Resolution 57 of 2022. Mr. Truesdale, could you please read it into the record?
Resolution 57, 2022, a resolution authorizing the city of Harrisburg to negotiate and enter into a professional services agreement with Anthony Russo Food and Safety and Environmental Health Inspection, LLC, to conduct health inspections of food facilities within the city of Harrisburg.
Thank you. Council members, there was a request during our work session last week to invite Ms. Nelva Wright to participate in our meeting. So at this time, I will entertain a motion to suspend the rules for discussion.
Second.
So moved. So, Ms. Wright, would you mind joining us for some questions? Good evening. Is your microphone on? I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
It's the button up
The
there.
gray button in the middle?
Got it. Can you guys hear me now?
Yes, much better.
Thank you very much for having me this evening. I'm joined here also with Ann Montgomery, who is Director of Codes. And we've been working on this project for quite a while. I understand that Mr. Russo did present, and I have very positive feedback. And from his interview, if you will, the other day. And I just wanted to provide you guys with some additional information. The packet I provided you today, it's a lot of information here. I don't need to overwhelm, but I did want to just kind of give a 100,000 foot overview of the actual retail standards program, which is really the funding source for Mr. Russo to have his duties here for the city of Harrisburg. It is a very unique opportunity. And, it's not going to be costing the city. It will be net zero for the city. And we'll be able to have a very talented and capable person come join us and support me in the work that I'm doing. So I think I covered a lot in those documents. And if anyone had any questions, I'll be happy to answer them at this time.
Thank you. I'm still not sure if your audio is clear.
Okay.
Okay,
I'll
that's
get
much
on it.
better. Thank you.
A little
Okay.
wary of being close to microphones, but.
That's fine. Thank you. So I will open the line of questioning. I know Councilman Mattson and Councilwoman Daniels both had questions specifically for you. So I will begin with Councilman Majors.
Okay, thank you. And thank you, Ms. Wright, for being here. So I know one of the things that we had discussed, I guess back in March or April, as well as along with the budget, was a desire to grow the department.
Yes, sir.
So just want to make sure you have the current staffing complement that you need. I think you're an office of one, correct?
That is correct.
Are we looking at exploring bringing someone in-house to do this, or is this just, we're using this grant as temporary until we're able to do something further?
Well, my hope is that this is the beginning of something that will grow into a full-fledged department. The retail standards program does have a guideline that will reflect the number of residents, or number of not only residents, but institutions, retail food establishments in a municipality. So there is a, if you will, 250 to 280 per full-time employee. So that's kind of like the baseline that's been established by the retail standards. By bringing Mr. Russo in at this point, we're going to be very close to being in compliance. But again, he is a part-time employee. So as things grow and as we continue to expand the department into other areas, we will need to have people with different types of expertise. Mr. Russo has a lot of expertise in specialized processes, as I do. So, as we're looking at, different types of retail food establishments coming in, we're going to need those diversity of skills. So my hope is that we will continue to grow in the area of the food inspection and compliance. But also, I've recently heard even from the community that they would like to see more engagement from the health office in areas that are not necessarily related to food directly, but may have an indirect connection. So, I'm trying to respond to the needs of the community and their request that more information will trickle down from our office in regards to not only food safety, but also other health impacts as well.
Okay, thank you. And just so I'm clear, so in terms of the establishments that the inspections are done on, those are just the retail food establishments or any other establishment that, may have an operational kitchen and does food service in our community is able for Mr. Russo and yourself to do inspections.
Yes, we actually have the school district, of course, and care facilities, child care centers, all the mobile food, if you will. So if it's a food truck or if it's a stand, we also manage the events. So things such as Capona, which is city run, but also outside entities who have fundraisers and different things of that nature. We would be involved in that as well.
Okay.
In addition to restaurants, of
Right.
course, and
No,
corner stores.
and corner stores, anywhere that's serving
Anyone serving food,
food,
we should.
right.
we should
Okay.
do that, yeah.
I mean, that still seems like an overwhelming amount of work for just the two folks. And I know, and from your documentation and what Mr. Russo noted, I think the number of inspections he'll be doing a month, I think he mentioned somewhere between 10 to 20, and we're looking, I think you want to push a little bit more to 20 to 25.
I'm hoping,
Okay.
and again, he is a part-time person
Right.
and he's retired. He might have spoken to you
Yeah,
guys
speaks
about
to
that
that,
from
that
a
works in other
from a personal level.
municipalities, right?
Yeah, so he's, I don't want to risk burning him out. This is a nationwide problem. So, here in Harrisburg, we are faring a little better than some other municipalities, and by bringing him in, it will get us closer and help us out. But this is a nationwide issue. Having trained, experienced, regulatory staff across the board is just difficult to say the least. So, I'm going to try to get as much as I can, but, people such as yourself and who are doing independent work are just being slammed, because everyone, all over the country are trying to get these folks to, help them out.
Right. I understand, and don't want to take up any more time, but we do appreciate that, and may have another follow-up or two. But if there's anything we can do to help facilitate that, I think that's important, especially with us being a capital city. We have a lot of people that come in and out, along with our residents that are here. We just want to make sure they have good food service. And I guess another question, unrelated directly to Mr. Russo, but in other communities, they have the food safety rating on the front of their establishment. Is that something we can explore? Or is that more city code, the third-class city code, where we're limited in what we can do in terms of allowing people to know, the last time a establishment has received a rating and what that rating of that food establishment is?
That's an interesting question, because I actually, in one of the grants I wrote for a rating system, ABC, et cetera. And I got a lot of pushback because I guess legally there were some challenges in past years with such a rating system. So we're trying to come up with something that can be useful universally for the public. Most people do not necessarily want to go on the line and look for things. There's been some challenges with the databases being changed over. So there's a lot of inspections that aren't even there. So it's been a little challenging over the past few years, but I really like the system. There's still a few cities such as Las Vegas, New York, I think Minneapolis. There's a few that actually are still using the red, white, blue kind of thing, and the ABC, whatever it is. And I would love to see something like that, but from the state Department of Ag folks, they just weren't feeling it.
Okay, all right, no problem. Thank you. Thank you, President Bowers.
Thank you. Councilwoman Daniels, any questions?
Yeah, so some of my questions were answered. I wanted to know where we were.
where we were in terms of the inspections? It looks like we're at 260 out of 500.
I've been hovering around there for the last few years, and it's just been very difficult to try to, continue to educate and to do the inspections and break that number. But like I said, we're doing better than some, but we're not doing, we're not where we should be.
And when does the year start?
It's generally a calendar year.
And so when
Well, let me
we,
step back. It depends. It's an anniversary for a lot of institutions too. So if I go in October, then, it would be from October to October.
so like what happens if we miss an inspection in 1 year for one of the vendors? How does their inspection then get? How do you calendar that? What happens?
If they are missed, generally, there is a ranking system that will show that we have in place with the state that says how many inspections per retail outlet based on what they are. For example, if it's a restaurant that's serving sushi, they may get 2 visits, but if it's a trailer, they'll be ranked at number 3. So it's a 1 through 4 ranking system. So everyone doesn't get an inspection every year. It depends on the activities of the actual retail establishment as to how many they get. Generally speaking, most retail establishments should be visited once a year, unless it's like a trailer or something of that nature, or something temporary. If they are missed, the best that we do is we try to bring them right back into rotation and make sure that they're taken care of. During COVID, however, there was a mandate that said, if in fact you weren't, a municipality was not making their numbers for whatever reason, they actually refined the standard to account for the fact that, people weren't getting out and they were not able to make the recommendation as far as the number of visits for a particular entity. Now that, COVID is, I guess, over, they are trying to ramp everyone back up. One of the challenges that I was sharing even with Ms. Montgomery is that here there's a real dearth of qualified people that are available in the workforce. So what that has done is caused kind of a snowball effect where I'm doing a lot of revisits, I'm doing a lot of failures. That adds to the workload and kind of, again, skews the number of visits out of whack because I'm so busy doing a second or a third on an institute, on a establishment that I may not have been doing several inspections on. But now that they have a different kind of staff or they're short staff, whatever that challenge is, I'm back in there, kind of starting from scratch.
So then the 500 retail accounts, that doesn't translate to 500 visits, that translates to more than 500. About how many does it translate to for us?
I would just add probably another like 10% on top for like revisits, 10 to 15% for, revisits. And that's just kind of like a broad guess. I would have to really go back and look at those numbers and see exactly what that would look like. But I would say about 10 to 15% of the time, I would have to do a second visit, for whatever reason. And that's just been kind of on the increase because of, again, lack of training. So it seems to me one of the challenges I've been hearing from some of our business folks is that as soon as they get someone in and they get them certified, there's a Serve Safe program. It costs a few dollars. It's a little time consuming, so what happens is people are rating each other's employees. So the candidate pool is shrinking and people are paying for folks to go to training and then they get to training and they go somewhere else. So now, it's been a very challenging situation for some of our business people to actually get people who know what they're doing.
Then, so far, I guess it's only you that's been doing the inspections, and now we're going to be adding this part-time person. When do you see, or how do you see a transition to a full-time role for this part-time?
I would
role?
love to get, as this is being looked at and we improve, I would love to say that we would be able to bring someone on. I'm hoping that we would be able to have that discussion. Bringing Tony in right now, it's not going to be too much of a learning curve because he is trained. That's a unique situation. So, as soon as he is brought on board, we're going to hit the ground running, and we'll be able to kind of transition him into the role. With that in mind, I would like to start looking for someone who can actually be an employee. because that way we have myself and we have the expertise from Tony, we have the support from the Department of Ag, we can get the person in, we can get them trained. And that's a process, because actually to do inspections from the guidelines for the state, there's a certain level of training that has to take place. So there is a certification process. So to bring someone in brand new, it can take 3 or 4 months before they can actually hit the street, to be honest. I've kind of bent the rules with my social media guy. He's been kind of helping me, but technically, he really needs to get through his training, because that's not what he was hired for. But he's been gracious, Mr. Nelson, John Nelson, who's our social media person, who's also on a contract. He's been gracious to kind of step in, like during the during carnivals or during some of the events, to just kind of, help out. And but that is not an optimal situation. Obviously, we need people who are certified. We need people who are in compliance, because these are federal funds. And, luckily, this money has been awarded, and it is for that process to try to build capacity and to get to the municipalities and get the local health districts to the point where they can, substantiate bringing people on and moving forward and staying in compliance with the 9 standards.
And this is the last question. When you do the 260 plus inspection, how much time does that leave you to do other things related to your position?
That's been a challenge, because and getting back to, some of the comments from the community that I've been hearing, they're like, oh, we really want to see you more. And we want you to do more. So it doesn't leave any time, to be honest. I've been just juggling around and doing, different events and doing things as I could. This is a full-time commitment, really, to do just inspections. But, the nature of our city and the nature of our needs doesn't allow me to just do inspections. So the short answer is it leaves me very little time, but there's weekends and there's other times that I can help out and do things. But again, that's not the optimal situation. The situation is that we should have a health officer or health people on staff who can interact and participate in things in the community, participate with other health, organizations and outlets on a more consistent basis. I'm not consistent. And that's really one of the challenges and one of the things I'd like to see Mr. Russo help me with, and because he's knowledgeable as well. So I think we can consistently engage in a better, more effective way, while we're taking care of keeping the public safe and fighting foodborne illness. There's all those other related things that's in a community that tie into safe food, healthy food, all those things are interrelated. So if we can engage more and have more time, then I can say to the community, hey, I'm going to be a part with you, and I'm going to be consistently. It's not going to be here and there. It can be something that can be ongoing, because the need is ongoing.
I think that's it for me. Thank you.
I appreciate it, everyone. And if you have any questions, and what Mr. Major, you asked, what could you guys do? I'm always open. I know I've spoken to Mr. Madison about the Salvation Army, and I've been in touch with some folks there. Again, this is only so many hours in a day, but I'd appreciate any support that you would have for the office, and any suggestions are welcome. And, if there's something I can do, please fill me in. Thanks so much.
Thank you very much. This time I'll entertain a motion to return to our legislative session.
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. So council members, we have before us Resolution 57 of 2022. Are there any other additional questions, comments, or concerns?
I just wanted to make a comment and applaud Director Wright, because we've had a lot of individuals in front of us, but to just say I'm not consistent and we will get better and do better was just amazing to hear. So thank you for that. Usually there's a lot of blame and finger pointing, so it was just amazing to hear. Thank you.
Thank you. So, Mr. Truesdale, could you please read the resolution into the record one more time, and then we will vote.
Resolution 57, 2022, a resolution authorizing the city of Harrisburg to negotiate and enter into a professional services agreement with Anthony Russo, Food Safety and Environmental Health Inspection, LLC, to conduct health inspections of food facilities within the city of Harrisburg.
Thank you. Can you please call the vote?
Ms. Daniels,
Yes.
Ms. Green,
Yes.
Mr. Madsen,
Yes.
Mr. Majors,
Yes.
Ms. Rawls,
Yes.
Mr. Rodriguez.
Yes.
Ms. Bowers.
Yes,
Passes by a vote of 7-0.
thank you. Next, we have Resolution 58 of 2022. Mr. Truesdale, could you please read it into the record?
Resolution 58, 2022, a resolution authorizing the city of Harrisburg to submit a grant application to the Pennsylvania Commission on Crime and Delinquency for a grant under the Gun Violence Investigation and Prosecution Grant Program of up to $5 million to improve the police bureau's ability to investigate gun crimes.
Thank you. Council members, are there any questions, comments, or concerns related to Resolution 58 of 2022? Seeing and hearing none, Mr. Truesdale, could you please call the vote?
Yep, 1 second.
Okay.
All right. Ms. Daniels,
Yes.
Ms. Green,
Yes.
Mr. Madsen,
Yes.
Mr. Majors,
Yes.
Ms. Rawls,
Yes.
Mr. Rodriguez,
Yes.
Ms. Bowers.
Yes,
Passes by a vote of 7-0.
thank you. Next, we have Resolution 59 of 2022. Mr. Truesdale, could you please read it into the record?
Resolution 59, 2022, a resolution to recognize the 600 block of Woodbine Street as the Reverend Billy Gray Way.
Thank you.
My apologies.
Resolution 59 of 2022 will move to the Administration Committee. Next, we have Resolution 60 of 2022. Mr. Truesdale, could you please read it into the record?
Resolution 60, 2022, a resolution authorizing the city of Harrisburg to secure professional services for short-term strategic guidance through lobbying-related services.
Thank you. I apologize, council members. When we spoke about this during our caucus, I was prepared to make the referral to the Administration Committee. However, it is time sensitive, so we will suspend the rules for discussion and then vote tonight. So at this time, I will entertain a motion to suspend the rules.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you.
Madam President, this resolution is twofold, really. The city code requires that all personal and professional services contracts come to city council for pre-approval. We had received some information or the powers that Harrisburg has on taxation were on the table for discussion in committees on the Hill. If you recall, we got our extra power on the very last day of a session. And the concern is that that could be reversed engineered if we don't have someone at the table at least representing our interest. So the city is doing an RFQI. My office is going to coordinate with other offices who are doing it. Ms. Kelly's provided me a template to work from. The procurement officers, Ms. Kelly's provided me a template to work from. The procurement officers provided us scoring sheets, and the mayor has directed us to put it together to invite lobbying firms in for a discussion. It's the process we used 4 years ago or 5 years ago. I've lost track of when that was last done, and have a scoring committee. But for this RFQ, I have both a short-term provision in it and a long-term provision in it, so that the contract for 2023 would come back to the council. But to have someone short-term up on the Hill just for this year, I think there's 6 scheduled days between now and November, 3 of them in October, 3 in November. And just really to protect the city's interest, in the event it becomes a question again. We were told it was a question in discussion committee in June, and there was a reference it may come back in October. So that is the purpose of this request. It's really just being cautious because if you're not the one at the table when sausage is being made, you're not going to be represented. No one's really going to care if they cut one of our things to add someone else's. So that's really the concern.
Thank you for providing that clarity. And just for everyone's reference, the following 6 House session days are October 24th, 25th, and 26th, November 14th, 15th, and 16th, just so everyone's clear of the timeline that we're working with. I will open the floor for questions from my colleagues. I'll begin with Councilwoman Rawls. Do you have any questions?
Thank you, President Bowers. I don't have any questions. Solicitor Grover, you explained that very well, so.
Thank you. Councilman Mattson, any questions?
Just one. I know in the past, now we had more time to prep, that council members were brought in to select or be part of a committee to help select the lobbying firm. Will that be done? Because we do have a number of council members that are familiar deeply with the legislator.
We do, and I will note that first, Mayor Williams asked me to request that Councilwoman Green be on the scoring committee. The scoring committee she was assigning was Councilwoman Green, Miss Kelly, Mr. Hartman, and there's a fourth, and Deborah Robinson, the deputy to that was the scoring committee. I was asked by Mr. Hartman, which I did by text message this evening, to request recommendations for who to invite from the council president and Mr. Majors, Councilman Majors. We've asked the controller for the same thing because his former career was a lobbying, and we're looking to get a list of a manageable list to bring people in for the interview. I believe last time they interviewed 5 firms and scored them.
Very good. Thank you.
Thank you. Vice President Green, any questions?
Thank you. I don't have any questions. The mayor did reach out to me and asked me to be a part of this committee. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilman Majors, any questions?
No questions, but just to piggyback off of you, President Bowers, you mentioned the House dates. I'm just going to mention the Senate session days because any bill will have to go through both chambers. Those dates are October 17th, 18th, and 19th, and 24th, 25th, 26th. Then they have one scheduled day, November 15th. So as you noted, and Mr. Grover noted, time is of the essence. So thank you. No questions.
Thank you. Councilwoman Daniels, any questions?
So, yeah, I have a lot of questions. So what are we authorizing here?
You're authorizing a short-term contract for a lobbyist for the remainder of the current term up through the last day this year.
For how much? What's the maximum?
I don't have a number, and we have contracted services budgeted, and we have to pull it out of one of those, but frankly, we're doing it as fast as we can. So it wasn't going to be a huge number. I can't quote you what we paid the prior lobbyist per month, but I'm assuming it's going to be a negotiated number when they come in the door.
And so there's an expectation that we're going to vet and onboard a lobbying firm within the next few days and have them fully ready to represent us at the Capitol as early as Monday.
Someone who is doing municipal work, basically, who's already there on other municipal claims, is the thinking that they will be up there. But again, we have no one at the table in reality.
Well, I mean, the last time we paid a lobbying firm, they lobbied for themselves to get money for that building on 6th Street. That's what ended up happening. So I'm really.
So for January, though, for the next one, again, the RFQI is going to have 2 things in it. And with the ability to select different firms for those 2 things, the short-term one for now, and the other one is to fully come back to council and be fully vetted for a contract for next year. So that will start this process for next year and do this short-term for right now.
And excuse me, President Bowers, if you don't mind, as I served on the committee when we got the last group, I think the monthly retainer was around between $4,000 and $5,000 per year. So it ended up being about $60,000 a year. We ended up paying in services, as Mr. Grover noted in the resolution before us. It does note that we're only through the end of this legislative session, we would have someone hired. I think that so we noted the days. If there's a monthly retainer, there is the last day that they could potentially act on anything in this current 21-22 legislative session would be November 30th. At that point, there are any members of the House. They would all be House members elect. And then there would only be half the members of the Senate. So we would be into what they call sine die. So no further legislation could be moved on. So at this point, if we were, it would look like we'd be paying, a month and a half potentially for lobbying services. And I think based upon the way that it's written, I think this is also to some of your questions, Council Member Daniels. I think this is targeted at a lot of the taxing authority that we do have in the city that was given to us via legislation. So they may not need to get up to speed all the way on every issue facing the city, but I think the goal at this point, and Neil or anyone from the administration, correct me if I'm wrong, is to ensure that that the taxing authority that the city does have is protected through the end of this calendar year. And then should we need to procure lobbying services moving forward, we could start the whole process over. We wouldn't have to go with whatever contracted service or whatever firm the administration would select. We would go through an entire new process for the next session. And then if we wanted to look into a longer contract at that point, those conversations could occur. If I'm speaking out of turn, someone can let me know. Thank you.
Yeah, I think so I know some of this relates to how the bill was introduced, but it's okay.
So, and frankly, I don't know the answer to whether your taxing authority, the extraordinary taxing authority comes through the fiscal code, which is a bit unusual. I don't even know if it's on the table, frankly. There's amendments to it all the time. It's amended every year. And whether they're going to have that up for amendment right now, we just don't have anyone up there giving us those answers. And they may come back and say there's nothing to worry about. That's really what the city needs to be in a position of to have.
The thing is, we don't have a good record. We haven't received good services from the lobbying firms we've hired in the past. So I really have little faith that this is doing anything. And the fact that it's brought down with such short notice also makes me.
How did we get the extraordinary taxing authority but through a lobbyist? I mean, I started out not being a lobbyist fan, but I'll be frank with you. How did we get it? We got it through a lobbyist. We were stabilized the budget of this city for the first time in 40 years with the authority that we have now. We have the earned income tax on a permanent basis. I mean, which is amazing. And I'm saying, so I understand why you disagree with them. And I will tell you, I don't start out as a fan, but I will give credit where credit is due. And the city of Harrisburg has authority it never had through that process.
Yeah, that's it for me.
Okay, thank you. Councilman Rodriguez, any questions?
No questions from me. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilman Mattson?
Yeah, just because of some of my extracurricular activities, I've been having some conversations with some legislators, and something I've heard from a few, and even the ones that I think would be friendly towards us, is the news of us paying down so much on our debt has rippled through there, and a lot of them were saying things to me like, well, why do you need inflated taxes if you've already settled with your debt, or you will shortly? So,
Which is a question that has to be answered.
right, I'm just verifying
Yep.
that there are conversations and questions being asked, and I do think representation on the Hill would be beneficial.
Thank you. Are there any other questions, comments, or concerns before we enter back into our legislative session? Okay, seeing and hearing none, I'll entertain a motion to return to the legislative session.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you. We've now re-entered our legislative session. Before us, we have Resolution 60 of 2022. Mr. Truesdale, could you please read it into the record one more time?
Resolution 60, 2022, a resolution authorizing the city of Harrisburg to secure professional services for short-term strategic guidance through lobbying related services.
Thank you. Council members, any final questions, comments, or concerns? Seeing and hearing none, Mr. Truesdale, please call the vote.
Ms. Daniels,
No.
Ms. Green,
Yes.
Mr. Mattson,
Yes.
Mr. Majors,
Yes.
Ms. Rawls,
Yes.
Mr. Rodriguez, Ms. Bowers.
Yes,
Passed by a vote of 6-1.
thank you. Next, we have Resolution 61 of 2022. Mr. Truesdale, could you please read it into the record?
Resolution 61, 2022, a resolution appointing Nathan Davidson to serve on the Board of Directors of Capital Region Water, a municipal authority.
Thank you. Resolution 61 of 2022 will move to the Administration Committee. Next, Resolution 62 of 2022. Mr. Truesdale, could you please read it into the record?
Resolution 62, 2022, a resolution approving the second proposed 2022 budget reallocation.
Thank you. Resolution 62 of 2022 will move to the Budget and Finance Committee. Our final resolution for consideration this evening is Resolution 63 of 2022. Mr. Truesdale, could you please read it into the record?
Resolution 63, 2022, a resolution to recognize the 600 block of Harris Street as Judith C. Hill Way.
Thank you. Resolution 63 of 2022 will move to the Administration Committee. Council members, is there any old business for discussion tonight? Seeing and hearing none, any new business?
Yes, Madam President.
Okay,
I'd like to acknowledge a few of our swearing-ins from the swearing ceremony. Officers and firefighters. With firefighters, we could start with Mr. Garrett Morey, Corey Elise, Justin Cahill, Mr. Brian Rooney, and Tyler Bender. Congratulations to these gentlemen for being sworn today. And with our officers, we have Deputy Fire Chief Lloyd Wise, Battalion Chief Charles Zavrell, Captain Byron Warner, and Lieutenant Justin Zimmerman. Congratulations to those. And just with one retiree acknowledgement to Mr. Marty Henderson that joined us in 1995 and is now retiring here in June 15th of 2022. So my salutations to you all. Thank you.
thank you so much. Is there any other new business? Okay, I just have a few things, so please bear with me. On Monday, October 10th, 2022, the Harrisburg High School boys varsity soccer team made history. The boys varsity soccer team is currently ranked #1 in the Mid-Penn Division. The team defeated Bishop McDevitt yesterday with a score of 7-1. The team's record is 8 wins, 1 loss, and 1 tie. Congratulations to all of the players and coaches. On Thursday, October 13th, 2022 at 12 p.m., this is just a reminder, 2nd Street will open to two-way traffic from Division Street to Forester Street. Finally, October is Breast Cancer Awareness Month, an annual campaign to raise awareness about the impact of breast cancer. I'm wearing pink tonight for the women in my family that have been impacted by breast cancer. Making Strides Against Breast Cancer of South Central Pennsylvania will celebrate their 25th anniversary by hosting their annual walk on Saturday, October 15th, 2022 at City Island, that's located at 1 Championship Way. Registration for the walk begins at 7:30 a.m. and the walk begins at 8:30 a.m. For more information regarding the walk or to make a donation to fund research efforts to find a cure, please visit the American Cancer Society's website. And that would be at acsevents.org. Council members, the time is 7:06 p.m. I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion.
Is there a second?
Second.
We stand adjourned. Thank you.